Tonight, the Texas Longhorns will do something that they haven't done in 45 years. What is it? I'll tell you on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin native, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell your Longhorn friends about Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. We'll talk about Texas basketball's newest portal pickup. We'll talk a little Longhorn baseball as well. But first, the NFL draft starts tonight, and the Texas Longhorns have a great chance of doing something that they haven't done in more than 4 decades. You've got to go all the way back to 1980 to find the last time and the only time that 3 Texas players went in the first round of a single NFL draft. Tonight, I think everyone expects that to happen again. Kelvin Banks, Jaden Baron, and Matthew Golden are all going to hear their names called by Roger Goodell in Green Bay tonight. The questions are, when and where do they go? I've got Vegas over-unders for all 3 players and also mock draft predictions from Mel Kiper, Field Yates, Daniel Jeremiah, and Todd McShay, maybe the 4 biggest names in mock drafting. Kiper and Yates did one together last night. I found that interesting, but we've got their mock. We've got Daniel Jeremiah's last mock, and we've got Todd McShay's final mock before the actual draft arrives. So we're going to go in alphabetical order with these 3 lifetime Longhorns, meaning we'll start with Kelvin Banks. The Vegas over-under on where Kelvin Banks will be selected is 12. I think Kelvin Banks goes before that. You've got Will Campbell out of LSU. You've got Armand Membo out of Missouri. Both of those guys play the same position, and they are both in the mix to go that high. But most of the mock drafts that I've seen over the last 24 to 48 hours, including all 3 of the ones that we're talking about today, have Kelvin Banks Jr. going 6th overall to Vegas. So well ahead of the 12 number that our friends in the desert have set. So again, Daniel Jeremiah, Todd McShay, and the folks at ESPN all agree that Kelvin Banks will end up in Vegas tonight. And there's been a lot of smoke to those rumors over the last couple of days. For a while, it felt like maybe Banks was going to fall outside of the top 10. You saw a lot of people projecting him to go to San Francisco at 11. Hell, you've seen some mock drafts that have Kelvin Banks falling all the way to Houston at 25. I've been saying for months, that'd be the steal of the draft if Houston were able to land him there. And I've also been saying for months that a bunch of teams picking ahead of the Texans would be making a huge mistake if they passed on Kelvin Banks, a guy that I think is the best offensive tackle and offensive lineman in this entire class. Vegas would be a pretty good fit for Kelvin Banks. Look, the Raiders have not been good in a while, but they just hired Pete Carroll, who is a Hall of Fame caliber head coach. I expect him to turn things around a little bit in Sin City. And Geno Smith, not a great quarterback, but better quarterback play than they've had the last couple of seasons there in Vegas. So fun place to live. Hopefully Kelvin Banks can be a start of the Raiders turnaround. Again, these are all projections. We'll see where he actually ends up. But obviously, the higher you go, the more money you make. So even if it's not necessarily the perfect team fit for Kelvin Banks, he's going to get paid handsomely if he ends up going just outside of the top 5. This dude is a monster. And again, I think he has one of the highest floors of any player in this class, but I also think he has a chance to have one of the highest ceilings of any player in this class. We've all seen it for the last 3 years here in Austin. Kelvin Banks was incredible during his Texas career, and I fully expect his game to translate to the next level. On to Jaden Baron now. The Vegas over-under for the Texas DB, 18.5. We go to the 3 mock drafts. ESPN has Jaden going 19th to Tampa Bay. Todd McShay, now with the Ringer, has Jaden Baron going 24th to Minnesota. And Daniel Jeremiah has Jade going 29th to the Washington Commanders. All of those lower than the Vegas over-unders. All of those a little lower than what most of you have probably been seeing over the last few months. Now, you might hear those numbers and think, wow, why do these guys hate Jaden Baron so much? All three, really all four of these analysts are very high on Jaden Baron. Todd McShay says he'd be an absolute steal at pick 24. He thinks he could go as high as 7 overall to the Jets. But McShay praises Barron's game, saying he has elite instincts and ball skills. I agree with that. Daniel Jeremiah says he has Jaden Baron much higher in his overall rankings. He just couldn't find the perfect spot to place Baron in his last mock that he dropped last night. Wherever Jaden Baron goes, he is going to make an NFL defensive coordinator very, very happy. His skill set, his versatility, his IQ, and just the type of character that he brings to the table, it's unmatched. It is unmatched. He's going to step into a locker room and instantly become a team leader. And again, he won the Thorpe Award as the best DB in college football last season. The guy can play. Jade did that in the SEC. He did that going up against very good competition in non-conference play as well. And he's done it for years. And again, we all saw him transition from slot corner to outside corner this past year and be named the best defensive back in the sport. So you could play him in the slot, which is where I think Jade projects at the next level, just because he's a little bit undersized, under 6 feet. But that slot corner position has never been more valuable than it is right now. So even if that's where Jade plays most of his snaps, I think he is going to be a huge piece on a good defense for years to come. And man, Washington, team that made it all the way to the NFC title game last year, a team that is clearly on the rise with a QB going into year 2. Pair Jade Baron with Dan Quinn, one of the best defensive minds in football. Talk about great landing spots. Look, I'm a Cowboys fan. I know, sucks. That would suck for the Cowboys because, again, I think Jade is a star in the making. If he does fall that far to 29, that's going to be one of the steals of the draft for Washington. Again, some size concerns, the positional value. Some people don't view the slot corner as highly as other spots on a defense, even though, again, it's more important now than it's ever been. But Jade Baron can play. He could cover. He could stop the run. He's physical. And again, the character, he's got everything that you want in a first-round pick. So there's Jade Baron. Now we go to Matthew Golden. The Vegas over-under for the Texas wide receiver is 17. And another guy that the mock drafters aren't super high on right now, Daniel Jeremiah has Golden going 19th to Tampa Bay. ESPN has Golden going 20th to Denver, so a pick later. And Todd McShay has the Houston Texans taking Matthew Golden with pick number 25. Of course, Matthew Golden from the Houston area, started his college career at the University of Houston. That'd be a nice homecoming for him. And boy, pairing him with CJ Stroud, that would be a ton of fun for the Texans. They already have some good weapons on the outside. You throw Golden in there, that offense would be even tougher to stop. I do think Houston needs an offensive lineman. I feel like that is the most likely selection for them. But man, if Matthew Golden is still on the board that late in the first round, I think the Texans might have a tough time passing on him. So Tampa Bay would be interesting. I mean, what a situation. Getting to learn from Hall of Famer Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Jalen McMillan. That's a loaded wide receiver room already. I don't know if the Bucs would do that, but good guys from Golden to learn from. 20th to Denver. Broncos seemingly on the rise as well. Bo Nix had a solid rookie year. Being a part of the Sean Payton offense would be fun. But, man, I wonder where Matthew Golden goes because there's no obvious number 2 receiver in this class. Travis Hunter is number 1, and he's probably going to the Cleveland Browns with the 2nd overall pick. So he'll be off the board. But after Hunter, there's sort of this second group with Golden and Tet McMillan at Arizona. Emeka Ibuka from Ohio State's in there. Luther Burden at Mizzou might be in there as well. You know, I think 2 to 3 wide receivers are going to be gone by 17, which, again, is the Vegas over-under slot for Matthew Golden as we're recording this right now. I think Golden will be one of them. I think he will be gone by the time we get to pick 17. Dallas at 12. The obvious spot. You've seen Golden mock to Dallas a lot lately. Now, all 3 of these mock drafts that we're talking about have Tet McMillan going to the Cowboys at 12. So they have Dallas taking a receiver, just a different receiver. Maybe where there's smoke, there's fire there. So maybe you scratch Matthew Golden off the board if you're a Cowboys and Longhorns fan, hoping he ends up there. You never know what Jerry Jones is going to do on draft night or draft weekend. But man, I love Matthew Golden's game. The 4.29 he ran at the combine. Who saw that coming? We knew Matthew Golden was fast. You don't tie for the SEC lead in receiving touchdowns if you're not fast, and obviously if you're not good. But 4.29, the fastest time amongst his peers in Indy, that was a pleasant surprise. He's clutch as hell. The 4th and 13 catch against Arizona State, biggest play of the year for the Horns. Great route, great catch, great play for Golden. He's got fantastic hands. He's a phenomenal route runner. He just gets open. He's a little undersized. If Matthew Golden was 6'2", he'd be, the second receiver off the board without question. But he's 5'11", so a bit undersized, and didn't have 1,000 yards receiving this past season. But anybody who's watched this kid play knows how much of an impact he can make for a Texas offense. And I think with a quarterback who's better at throwing the deep ball than Quinn Ewers was, I think you could see Matthew Golden do a little bit more down the field because of that blazing speed. More of a short and intermediate guy at Texas. Had a couple of deep catches, but again, that is like ridiculously fast from Matthew Golden. You pair him with a QB who can chunk the ball down the field and a QB who's more willing to chunk the ball down the field. I think Golden could make some magic happen at the next level. So we'll see. Best of luck to all three of them. Matthew Golden is the only Longhorn who will be in Green Bay in person to walk across the stage. But obviously, best of luck to Jaden Baron and Kelvin Banks as well. Awesome nights for them. And an awesome night to be a Texas fan. Again, the Longhorns haven't had 3 players go in the first round of a draft since 1980. It's going to happen tonight. Will Texas get a 4th first rounder? Probably not. For a little bit, you were thinking maybe Isaiah Bond could creep in there, but the off-the-field issues, I don't think, are going to help him out tonight. So we will talk about the other Horns who are going to get picked tomorrow and Saturday in rounds 2 through 7 on tomorrow's show. But again, I expect 3 Texas players to go tonight. The questions are when and where those players will get picked. All right, let's shift gears here. Sean Miller got tired of Steve Sarkisian having all the transfer portal fun. Texas basketball added a player from the portal this morning. We'll talk about the newest Longhorn, and I'll tell you what he's bringing to Austin next, right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word for our friends at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs have arrived, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on all of the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you're going to get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Yeah, NBA playoffs going on right now. So many great games, so many compelling storylines, and FanDuel makes betting so easy. If you want to pick your favorite team, maybe you're a Rockets fan down in Houston, you could do that. If you want to pick the favorites, if you want to pick the upsets, if you want to do player prop bets, doesn't matter. FanDuel gives you more ways to win than anybody else. And of course, after the game tips, you can even combine live prop bets as well in a same game parlay for a chance to win big, big money. Don't miss out. Check out the FanDuel app or head over to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Texas basketball getting in on the transfer portal fun. The Longhorns have added themselves another portal addition. Simeon Wiltshire, who was the 34th ranked player in the country coming out of high school back in 2023, is coming to Texas. He averaged 8 points per game for a St. John's team that won the Big East this past season. Started 25 games for the Red Storm in 24-25. Played about 25 minutes a game as well. So he was a big part of St. John's having its best year in decades under Rick Pitino. Sim Wiltshire, they call him Sim, originally from New Jersey, was originally committed to play at North Carolina out of high school, but opted to stay closer to home and ended up signing with St. John's. A 4-star transfer. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. Love that. Not just a rental, not just a one and done. A guy who can help this team contribute this coming season, but also be a part of things the following year as well. And I like this pick. He's a great culture guy. It was a bit of a surprise when Sim Wiltshire hit the portal. St. John's wanted to keep him. This was not a case of, hey, we don't think you're good enough, or, hey, we're bringing somebody else in that we just think is better than you. No, this was a bit of a shock for the Johnnies that Sim Wiltshire decided to leave. I mean, Rick Pitino at one point last year called Sim Wiltshire, quote, the future of our program, end quote. Pretty high praise. And I love that Sim Wiltshire has been coached by Rick Pitino, because Pitino, look, say what you want about his off the court endeavors. That guy's a hell of a basketball coach, and that guy is a tough son of a gun. And you have to be tough to play for Rick Pitino. You got to be hard nosed. You got to be gritty. You got to be willing to do the dirty work if you want to get minutes on a Rick Pitino led team. And again, Sim Wiltshire started 25 games and averaged about 25 minutes per game this past year. He was in that tree of trust for Coach Pitino this year, a great culture guy. Sim Wiltshire is 6'4". He's listed as a point guard. He's more of a combo guard. He averaged less than 2 assists per game this past year for the Johnnies. So I know a lot of Longhorn fans, myself included, are looking for like a fix, not just a Band-Aid type of fix, but a real-life fix at point guard to get a true traditional point guard who can just be a floor general for this team and be a facilitating first type of player. I don't think Sim Wiltshire is quite that, so maybe Texas is still in the mix for a true point. The portal is closed, so nobody can enter anymore, and there aren't a lot of great options left out there, but there's still a few. There still are a few that Texas can get to commit. Again, you can't enter the portal now, but you can exit the portal and go sign with somebody. So the Longhorns could, I expect them to bring in at least one or two more guys. They could make one of those a point guard. But as of this moment in time, it's Tremont Mark, it's Sim Wiltshire, and it's Jordan Pope likely to be your point guard rotation. I almost think you've got 3 square pegs in round holes, all good players who can contribute to the Longhorn success. And look, Sean Miller runs a better offense that's going to make life easier for everybody than what we've seen under Rodney Terry the last 3 seasons. But yeah, not quite the true point guard. Still a good player. Really good at driving and finishing at the lane. Has a solid mid-range jumper. Not a very good three-point shooter. Shot just 29% from beyond the arc this season. So that's got to improve. But Sim Wiltshire, a very good athlete. Still a bit of a project, but I'd really like to pick up for Texas. Again, another guy with high-level experience and big game experience as well. Again, St. John's won a conference title. They won their conference tournament title. They were a 2 seed in the dance. They lost a little bit earlier than expected in the round of 32, but Sim Wiltshire has played in some big games this year and, again, been coached by a Hall of Famer in Rick Pitino. I don't think Sim Wiltshire is a plug-and-play starter for the Longhorns in 25-26. He's likely your, 7th or 8th guy in your rotation. Maybe I'm underselling him a little bit. I think Wiltshire's going to play. I think he could be a 20 to 25 minute a game guy here. But I don't, again, if you were hoping that Sim Wiltshire is going to come in and be your plug and play starter so you could move Tremont Mark back to the 2 and kind of put him at his more natural spot, I don't believe that is the case for Texas. But again, big fan of this move. Wiltshire, a great athlete, a very highly touted recruit coming out of high school. I like his game, and there's still some development there. I think there's still some untapped potential with this young man. Hopefully, Sean Miller and this Longhorns coaching staff can get all of that out. Sim Wiltshire is the 5th transfer portal pickup of the offseason. Man, 5 has kind of been the magic number, right? Texas football has brought in 5 portal defensive linemen. Texas football has brought in 5 players in the spring portal window. And now Texas basketball matching that number with their 5th transfer portal pickup of the offseason. Of course, Dalen Swain and Lacina Traore coming in from Xavier. Matas Vokatitis, the big man from FAU. And then Cam Heide from Purdue, the other 4 that Texas has brought in. By my counts, the Longhorns have 2 more scholarships they can hand out. Again, I'd love to grab a true point guard if you can find one, and if you can add one more three-point shooter, because Texas has severely struggled in that department for a long, long time. Cam Heide's a great three-point shooter. He's the best on the team. Jordan Pope was damn near elite at shooting the 3 at Oregon State. He was not that at Texas, so I don't know what he is there. But you can never have too much shooting. And again, that's been a persistent issue for Texas, going back to Rick Barnes and then through Shaka and Beard and Rodney Terry. Like, they got to have some guys who can knock down some threes, especially in this free-flowing, ball movement-heavy offense that Sean Miller incorporates. Find another shooter if you can. If you add a point guard and just a wing who can shoot the lights out of the gym, then, yeah, I mean, I'm already excited about this squad. I love what Sean Miller has done, considering the fact that Texas had basically nothing guaranteed to come back. Love that Miller was able to retain Weaver and Mark and Pope, and a big fan of these transfers that he's brought in. The icing on the cake, the cherry on top, can be, again, a point guard and a good 3-point shooter. But love this pickup for the Horns as they continue to put things together in year one of this new era. All right. It's been a fun show talking about the NFL draft, talking about a new pickup for Texas hoops. I hate to do this, but I have to. We've got an ominous injury update for Texas baseball. We will reluctantly get to that coming up next, right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word for our friends at Amazon Fire TV. Did you know your Fire TV can turn into an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign in to Xbox Ultimate Game Pass with EA Play included, and you were ready to play just like that. You could dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and so much more. And of course, you can also stream your favorite shows as well. It's gaming made simple, and it's all right there on your Fire TV. The latest technology for elevated playing, endless entertainment with 4K streaming, and you've got more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes to choose from because it's Amazon Fire TV. So you've got Netflix, you've got Prime, you've got Disney Plus, you've got Max, you've got all of those streaming services. Now you get the gaming as well. It's the best of all worlds. So head over to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Again, Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. Again, it's Amazon Fire TV Stick. Welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. We're just one day away from the biggest regular season series for Longhorn baseball in years, decades, forever. Again, regular season. Texas has been to Omaha a lot, and they've won a lot of championships, so you can't call this the biggest games or the biggest series they've ever played in. But in terms of the regular season, the pomp and circumstance surrounding the return of the Lone Star Showdown is unlike anything that I've ever seen in my decade plus of covering this university. Tomorrow night, Texas and Texas A&M, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 3 games at the Dish and what should be an insane weekend here in Austin, Texas, USA, America. I keep burying the lead because that's the good news. That's the exciting stuff. But unfortunately, Texas will be without another one of its best players, not just for this weekend, but for a while. Starting pitcher Jared Spencer, the ace of this Texas staff that has been one of the best in the country all season long. He, of course, left last Thursday's start against Auburn after just 2 2/3 innings with what was described at the time as arm soreness. Well, earlier today, Jim Schlossnagle on his weekly radio hit said, quote, Jared is going to visit medical people today and try to figure out what the best long-term decision is for him. He's not going to pitch anytime soon unless we get some awesome news, end quote. Well, knock on wood that we get the awesome news that Schloss was referencing, but I'm putting more stock into the he's not going to pitch anytime soon part of that statement. And that sucks because Jared Spencer's having a tremendous year. We've heard rumors throughout the course of the week that Texas was looking into second opinions on Jared Spencer's arm. That's never good because if the first opinion is what you want to hear, you don't go get a second opinion. But if the first opinion is bad, then, hey, can somebody tell us something good, please? Tell me something good. And, yeah, I don't know. Unless a miracle happens, it feels like Jared Spencer will be out for a while, not just for this series against Texas A&M. Postseason might be best case scenario for Texas. Worst case is probably Tommy John, and that means the end of the line for Jared Spencer in 2025. Again, having a great year as the ace of this ball club, 4-1 with a 3.22 ERA in 10 starts. His first year as a full-time starter. eating up a lot of innings. Maybe that contributed to this. Last week was a short week for Texas because you had Easter Sunday, so they moved the weekend series up a day. So Spencer, instead of pitching on Friday, he pitched on Thursday. Maybe that changed in routine, didn't help things, but you could tell something was off in that Auburn start because his fastball velo was way down. I mean, it was 91, 92. Usually it's closer to, 94, 95, 96, sometimes touching 97. It was nowhere near that against the Tigers last Thursday. And then, leaving the game 2 2/3 innings in. You don't need me to tell you that was bad news bears for the Horns. So now the plan for this weekend, Ruger Riojas is going to get the ball tomorrow. That's been confirmed by Schloss. Luke Harrison will stay on Saturday. You don't want to affect his routine and risk him getting hurt. You can't have your two top guys going down. So Riojas, the normal Sunday guy, moves to Friday. Luke Harrison stays in his Saturday spot. And Schloss said it will likely be Jason Flores on Sunday. Flores started a few Sunday games earlier in the year before Riojas kind of settled into that spot. Flores has started some Tuesday games as well. He's pitched a lot, and he's been very good for Texas. That might be a Johnny Allstaff situation where Flores has a relatively short leash, but seems like he will get the ball for the series finale. Next man up for Texas. They've done it offensively without Max Ballou, right? Ballou, the best player, went down. Texas hasn't really missed a beat. They've gotten even better, and they've rose to the number one ranking in college baseball without him. Now your best pitcher, or at least your best starting pitcher, is out for the foreseeable future. It's next man up. Obviously, Riojas and Harrison and Flores are going to have to up their games a little bit against a red-hot Texas A&M team. And down the stretch in these final four series that the Horns have in SEC play, because these Aggie bats aren't messing around. They've come to life over these last few weeks with what they did at Tennessee and what they did at Arkansas these past few days. It's a good team, and Texas baseball was going to have to bring it. But, man, it was already a tough test and a huge rivalry game, and now it gets a little tougher without your number one starter. So best wishes to Jared Spencer, again, hoping for the best case scenario, or this is just a couple of weeks, and we get Spencer at least for the postseason, but we'll wait and hear what the doctors, what did Schloss call them? The medical people? Yes, Jared is going to visit medical people today. Hopefully, medical people can come through with some good news. That's going to do it. What a tough way to end. But I can promise you tomorrow will be more fun because it's Friday. We'll be talking about round 1 of the NFL draft. We'll be previewing rounds 2 through 7 of the draft as well. And plenty of Texas A&M baseball conversation too coming your way. Always appreciate y'all tuning in. Please remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below with your thoughts and feedback and questions. Thank y'all for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on all of the rapid changes going on in college football. Find Locked On the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. As always, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Talk to y'all tomorrow. Horns up, mics off. We'll see y'all next time. This is Locked On Longhorns.